the Las Vegas Raiders, but it is what it is. If I can get it to switch over, come on, there we go. Awesome. Raiders 2023 record prediction, season outlook, however you want to look at it for I think that's going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL next year. Hit me with it, man.
Yeah, I got them going 5-12, so I'm right there with you. I do not see it with Jimmy G. If they couldn't get it done with Derek Carr, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
there's a shot they can do it with him.
Right.
Josh McDaniels, I assume we're going to get later on into some head coaching, hot seat stuff, and he is right there with them. If he
Yeah.
doesn't, put something together this year, which I think that his back is against the wall in that respect.
Def.
So the Raiders, man, they've been making some really weird decisions the last couple years.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, obviously in the past, but this is just going back to decisions made by the front office with the Raiders that I just never really understood, which was the actual Devontae Adams trade, which a lot of
Yeah.
people at that time were like,
Mm.
oh my goodness, like this is awesome. They're going to have Derek Carr, Devontae Adams went to Fresno State together. They have chemistry. This is going to be amazing.
Yep.
And I was just thinking to myself, man, like you're giving away a ton of draft capital and assets and money
Yep.
to a guy that how much is he going to actually move the needle for your franchise when it
Yep.
comes to the AFC West? I mean, you're still competing with the Chargers who have Justin Herbert. You're competing with Patrick Mahomes who the Kansas City Chiefs who has Patrick Mahomes. Like I just never understood. Like, I guess they wanted to do the whole, like, we're going to compete and hopefully one of those teams slips up when you slip into the playoffs. But I was just like, that was a lot to risk for an organization in a very muddy situation.
Yep.
But yeah, I think this is going to go downhill. McDaniel's probably going to be out of a job, and
Yep.
they're going to be looking to reset the whole thing next year.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And everything you said, I piggyback off of there. It's going to be a team that they're going to be better than bad, but they're going to be worse than average at best. I'll say that again. They'll be better than bad, but they're going to be worse than average at their peak. So this team is not even average at best, but they're floating in between bad and average, whatever the hell you guys want to call that. Devontae Adams not happy about Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll get to him in a second. He was quoted saying, "I don't really see a way for us to win unless we use him a certain way. We're not seeing eye to eye on the schemes right now with the offense." And when you're talking about one of the most expensive wide receivers in the game, who rightfully so is because he's one of the top ones in the game, when you have him talking about that new quarterback coming in, when you have Josh McDaniels that didn't have a great reputation in the first year, when you have Darren Waller leaving, and when you know a counterpart in Josh Jacobs isn't even getting his contract worked on yet or they're still negotiating, that's going to affect how Devontae Adams is actually going to function in that offense and really be a prolific receiver in the NFL. And Jimmy G can't carry a team with a horrible defense. I mean, I talked about it. Jimmy G was good. He was not great. He was good in San Francisco. It's just like when you put a running back into San Francisco's system, like it's going to work more times than not because of how they're built. Jimmy G was never a guy that won a game with his arm or he had to make the throw to win it. And the throw we can think about for Jimmy G is the one he overshot Emmanuel Sanders on in the Super Bowl, if
Yep.
we're just being honest. Jimmy G always had a great defense to help him out in San Francisco. Derek Carr never had a top 20 defense in his decade with the Las Vegas Raiders. And Derek Carr is a gunslinger. He could get you into a game, get you out of a game. Jimmy G is a manager. And so
Mhm.
Jimmy G is now going to be asked to carry a team that I'm not a fan of the roster. I'm really not. And the defensive side of the ball is absolutely horrible. Again, we mentioned Josh Jacobs might be gone, and Josh McDaniels is regretfully at the helm. When I take a look at the schedule, and I know this prediction sounds way different than the other ones, but it's just going to be a bad team this year. I didn't want to actually pain myself of going through and saying, "Oh wow, are they really going to go 2-15? Are they really want to go 1-16?" I see no more than 5 wins here on the schedule for Vegas. You got possibly Indy, Green Bay, maybe the Giants, maybe the Vikings, and possibly the Bears as well. But these guys are going to be last in the division. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. It's a tank season. Maybe Caleb Williams will be in there next year, possibly with the Cardinals. Who knows? Had the Cardinals as a horrible team as well. Had the Titans as not a good team too. Raiders fell into that tank team season, and that's just unfortunately how it's going to how it's going to play out. I love that NFL Mike jumps in the comments. The Raiders' dark age continues. I'm enjoying this one. It's no ironic situation there that you jump in NFL Mike. I love, by the way, how you're implementing all the Raiders hate into your content. I love how it's becoming part of your scheme. Wesley, I want to see your comment here. I know you might have jumped out. Don't know if you went over DeAndre Hopkins or not, but he is an improvement over Robert Woods. Definitely for about the same money he was going to get. I believe that's accurate too. That being said, Hopkins isn't happy when he isn't getting the ball. That's true. Going to a run first team isn't good for him. That comment's a little long, but I'll just keep reading it. Now in the long run, he doesn't help the team. I disagree there. Reason being, besides a second year guy coming off his rookie year, talking about Traylon Burks, what other wide receivers are out there? Got to have more threats. You definitely have to have more threats. And I think Logan and I were both agreeing, like, you can't fault Tennessee considering what everyone's saying about them and considering they're in the AFC. You can't fault them for going to get DeAndre Hopkins for $10 million a year, barring he has an average season. He's only going to get paid up to 13, which is cheap if he's having, one of his best years or, one of his career years in the league. But again, we can't necessarily knock Tennessee for going to get DeAndre Hopkins.